Good morning, the Carolina viewer. Today we have Mr. Donald Ho. How he thinking about the Vietnam War by the PBS. They just show on the cable and direct TV last week. Hello, sir. Can you tell us about how you thinking when you watching the Vietnam War movie they show on the PBS in the last week by the Ken Burn and Ling Novick. How you feeling because you are a veteran, and then how you thinking about that movie? How you feeling?
Well, I feel that that movie was extremely poor. I mean, he said he spent 10 years on it. He must have spent 11 years in the North before he wrote that show, because he didn't spend any time with the South people. Because I know a lot of South Vietnamese who fought in the war. And I even talked to him about it because I felt that I was overreacting to it when I watched it. And a lot of my American friends who fought there felt it was extremely bad because it was all slanted, showing how we misused the North, how we were the bad guys, and that wasn't true. That was a lie. My feelings. I felt extremely bad. I think Burns, it seems to me, if anything, if I would have been him, I would have made sure that the North paid me for doing that show. Because
this one looked like to have the politics.
Oh, very much so. It was a very, very one-sided affair. It made everything look like we were the bad guys. The Southern Army were the bad people. We were the criminals.
I see.
We were the ones doing all the bad things. They mentioned all the things that happened in the South. They brought up how bad we were. But they never mentioned anything that the North did in the South.
I see.
Like one good example. They never mentioned about over 100,000 people in Hue were murdered. They were civilians. And they were men, women, and children. Old men, old women, young men, young women, babies killed, and they tried to bury them, but we caught them. That was never mentioned, things like that. They never mentioned all the butcheries. They would come into the villages at night in the South, and anybody that didn't go along with them, they killed them. They butchered them. I mean, they didn't kill them quick. They made them die slowly.
I see.
To make the other people in the village fear them, not so much think they were good people. The only reason most of them fought with them is because they didn't want to die. In fact, when I was there, it's what one of the guys told me, Vietnamese fella. He says, I'm so afraid. You guys come in and kill us during the daytime, and the VC come in at night and kill us.
I see.
So it was just a really bad movie. I mean, it didn't show both sides. War, unfortunately, in my opinion, when you have a war, you do it to win. And we were not allowed to win.
I see.
It wasn't we couldn't. They wouldn't allow us. And they wouldn't allow the South to win. And they said how bad the South Vietnamese soldier was. That's the biggest lie ever told. Some of the best fighters I ever seen were in the South Army.
Yeah.
I would any day fight along the South Vietnamese Army. And I did. And I would trust them as much as I trust my own guys.
I see.
And he slanted it all kinds of bad situation. And I asked a lot of my friends, one fellow he's got all kinds of medals, you know, and everything else for fighting there. And he fought over there many times. And I said, is it just me? Am I the one who just feels that way? He says, oh no, he says, that's a bunch of junk they had on that movie. And I talked to other ones, you know, many of them I talked, because I was at the VA clinic, where all the VA veterans are. And I was talking to them, and it was, I didn't find one person. The only person I found that thought it was okay, he was in the Navy, and he was never on shore, never got on the ground, never fought. He was on the ship all the time. He didn't care. He thought it was okay. But he was the only one.
I see.
And he was a Democrat, too.
Do you think somebody say maybe the Mr. Campbell, he don't study good about the world. He a little bit hurry for make this movie. How about you thinking like that?
Well, he said he took 10 years, so that's not hurrying. But I'll tell you one thing, before this one came out, as I was telling you earlier, I saw one very similar to this. It was very similar. You know, a different person produced it and everything else, but it was slanted very towards the side, make the communist side look very good, make the South side look very bad. And it was not, you know, I complained to the guy who was in, that had the curator of this library, and I complained to him about it. I said, well, he says, I got to have both sides. You know, he didn't want to get involved with me, but I had seen one like it. And I think more, it's something that the left side, and I know that Hollywood is very left side leaning. They have all this bull they put out that's not true. You know, they make it seem true. They make you believe it, but it's not. And as a person told a long, long time ago, who wins the war writes the history books.
Okay. Thank you for your shared idea. Thank you very much. Thank you, Carolina viewer, Tran Viet, Carolina TV.